All right, everyone. Welcome back to another video. Last time we left off with the 5th fights on for Boulogne. Just talking about the 5th Army and their fight for Boulogne. It also talks about the Brazilian nurse corps that's sent in, and actually brings up part of what the Brazilians did, which wasn't a lot, but they did do some. A Navy flight nurse on Iwo Jima, March 6th, 1945. First on any battlefield. Ensign Jane Kendalling of Oberlin, Ohio, was the first Navy flight nurse to set foot on any battlefield. Here, she attends a wounded man on the airstrip at Iwo Jima. The nurse's plane landed on the island under mortar fire, and before it could evacuate 16 wounded men, there was a delay of 80 minutes while planes finished an attack on nearby enemy positions. Yeah, I'm sure this was nice for this guy. A lot of these guys, they appreciate the jobs of the nurses. They did great work, and they shouldn't be forgotten. You know, we obviously talk about all the fighting, but a lot of what the nurses did and the fighting women is really important, and it shouldn't be forgotten for World War II. Women did a lot in this war, and their part to play should not be forgotten. And also, as an Ohioan myself, it's nice to hear of a Ohioan lady making sure she's helping, doing her best. And it's really nice to hear. Brazilians are active on Italian front, March 1945. High officials honor Brazilian GIs. The Brazilian Expeditionary Force played an important part in the fighting in Italy. Above, a wounded Brazilian soldier is visited by high officials, and below, General Mark Clark, commander of all United Nations troops in Italy, decorates a Brazilian soldier for bravery. Standing in the upper picture are left to right, Major General Yaho Batista Masanhacas de Mores. I am so sorry for that butchering of a pronunciation. Commanding General of the BEF, Brazilian Expeditionary Force, obviously. Major Ernesto Oliveira, senior Brazilian medical official at the 38th Evacuation Hospital. General Eurico Gaspar Dutra, Minister of War of Brazil, and Colonel General T. Wood of High Point, NC, commanding officer of the 38th EVAC, and Colonel Marcos Porto, chief medical officer of the BEF. Yeah, it's cool to show the Brazilians' part, and they did obviously have a part to play more so in Italy. I don't believe they were on the German front as much, but while Brazil didn't necessarily play the biggest part, they did help in this war, and their fighting should not be forgotten, even though it kind of is nowadays. No one talks about the Brazilian part to play in this war, which is kind of sad. It's one of those Latin American countries that put a lot up in this war and actually participated. Most of them didn't. Most of them abstained from it, but not Brazil. So it's nice to see. The First Army captures ruined Cologne, March 6th, 1945. Cathedral still stands. With the fall of Cologne, all of the west bank of the Rhine to the north, with the exception of small pockets, was brought under Allied control. Large sections of the once beautiful city were utterly destroyed, with the cathedral the only building not severely damaged. 25 large-scale aerial attacks spread 42,000 tons of bombs on the city, causing destruction far exceeding that wrought by the enemy on London. 2/3 of the city's built-up area was wiped out. To the south of Cologne, other American units were closing in on the river. Bonn. Patton drove to within 20 miles of the Rhine and Koblenz, and to the north, the United States and Canadian First Armies were breaking down the Weasel Pocket. So you can see Cologne absolutely devastated. And like they said, it was a beautiful city, but just look at the devastation. And obviously a lot of this is reprisatory attacks for London, for things like that. And so it's kind of awful. But at least to a degree, the cathedral stood. I'm sure for many people, that's a sign of goodwill to some degree. And hopefully many people were able to seek shelter in the cathedral if they couldn't seek shelter elsewhere. The U.S. First Army crosses the Rhine. March 7th, 1945. Seizes bridge at Remagen. Veterans of the United States First Army captured the Ludendorff Bridge at Remagen and established a bridgehead across the Rhine in one of the war's great dramatic coups. The vital bridge was seized in the nick of time just 10 minutes before the Germans planned to blow it up. Immediately, American troops began to pour across the Rhine by the thousands. Not since 1805, when Napoleon's forces from the English Channel coast swept across the Rhine to rout the Austrians at Ulm, had the Rhine been crossed by an invading army. In this picture, the captured bridge is shown with houses destroyed on the west bank and smoke from shelling arising from the eastern bank. With this breaching of the Rhine, the heart of Germany was exposed. It was the beginning of the end. Yeah, this is more than the beginning of the end. This is about the midpoint at this point. Germany is collapsing. They have no real chance of slowing down the Allies. Like, they haven't for a long time. So saying this is the beginning of the end, it's not really quite true. They've been on the end for a while now. But it's cool to think that it's not since Napoleon had this been crossed, and now they're crossing it. But I'm sure for many Germans, this is a horrifying thought at this point. The Allies are crashing down on them for both sides. Even in World War II, that just didn't, or not World War II, and World War I, that didn't happen. It was very much just they're getting to our border, we're going to surrender now. But not from the East. The East didn't even really get close. They didn't really push very far. But from the West, it was pretty close. But now it's a whole different beast. They're being collapsed down on. The Nazis shell Ludendorff Bridge. March 1945. Men and supplies continue to cross Rhine. The Germans frantically tried to knock out the Ludendorff Bridge, but it was too late. The Yanks continued to cross under heavy fire and succeeded in widening and strengthening their bridgehead. Crippled American jeeps are shown in the top picture, and below, men in jeeps enter upon the bridge as anti-aircraft crews ward off air attacks. Yeah, you can see many jeeps, as I said, just broken down. And yeah, like I said, it's too late. The Germans would have had to blow it up way before the Allies had crossed. It's too late now. They're not going to be able to stop this. And they've got, obviously, like they said, AA guns in preparation for any air attacks that might happen. And you can see men and supplies up there moving across the bridge as fast as they can, which they need to. On the east bank of the Rhine, March 8th, 1945, Hell's Corner. Not only the railroad bridge at Remagen, but also the town of Remagen was subjected to heavy enemy shelling. But infantrymen of the First Army moved in an endless stream into the city. Below, they advance along a shore road towards the town and enter the town above. The doughboys keep close to the buildings for protection against the steady artillery pounding. Yeah, you've got to, when you're getting hit like with shells, that's what you're going to do. You're going to hide across the buildings. It reduces the chance of you actually getting hit by a shell and things like that. So it's good protection. And obviously the Germans are just trying to do anything they can to stop the Allies. They're going to bomb their own cities. Anything to slow them down. It's not going to really work, though. The Allies are not stopping, and the Germans know it. And with that, that's going to do it for this video. If you guys liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Tell me what I could improve on. I always appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.